excited to get an actual job in a real place.
I've never heard it speak to me before. It just said recording in progress.
It just said this meeting is being recorded to me, and it was like, do you consent to being recorded?
I've never. Did Zoom update? Did Zoom update?
No, I don't know.
I feel like it may have.
They said consent. Oh my God. It literally said, do you consent? And then the button was like consent or like do not consent. And I was like, what are people using Zoom for nowadays?
Oh my gosh.
Anyway.
It's
been a while.
It's been a while. Hello and welcome to another episode of Thoughts Shared, Souls Bared. I am Katie.
I'm Jill. My hair is wet. It's bothering me.
We have kind of a plan for today's episode. Sorry you didn't have an episode last week. We were busy.
Shit happened.
Shit happens, but also so much happened this week. My God, but we'll get to that later. We'll get to that later. But Jill and I hope to have some guests on very, very soon.
I will be reaching out this week and next week, most likely.
Yes. So we're very, very excited to have some guests on. But in preparation of getting guests on, we wanted to have a list of like rapid fire questions that we will be asking our guests. If I can find a pen. Found one. So rapid fire questions. So you'll remember how we had those like 5 or 6 questions that we asked Emily and kind of going off of those questions. So Jill, you're going to hear us brainstorm some questions while also asking each other these same questions.
I don't have any questions prepared. I was like, I'm just going to wing this. I was like, I'm going to pull up some questions on a whim.
Yes. So
I'm gonna vibe with it.
Let me see what the questions that I asked you yesterday were.
I'm going to Google like first date questions.
Ooh, yes. Yes.
I do that before I go on a date. Like I always do. I'm always like first date question.
Okay. So the first one I have is the first show that got you into theater. Jill, what was the first show that got you into theater?
Mine was a movie.
Ooh, what movie?
Grease.
Not West Side Story.
No, West Side Story was after Grease. So Grease kind of like kickstarted my entire life. Because I was very, very young when I watched it. I was probably 4 years old, I think.
My God.
And I watched it with one of my sisters. I think it was my oldest sister. And we were watching it at my babysitter's house. And because I was there like every single day. Because my parents both worked. So we were at our babysitter's house, and my babysitter was like an older woman, like she was like another grandma for me. And so she always like showed me these movies, and like we always watched movies and stuff together. And so we watched Grease, and I fell in love with John Travolta. And like I still to this day I'm like such a whore for John Travolta, like anything. I love him. He's like my favorite mess. Like I would give anything to like be his publicist. My
God,
that's like my goal in life is like to be John Travolta's publicist. But like Olivia Newton-John was just like transcendent to me. Like I don't know what it was about that woman. I just thought that she was like the most incredible thing I've ever seen in my life. And so yeah, like Grease was the biggest one as a child. I used to do the hand jive around my house like every single day. And then West Side Story was probably like immediately right after that. The same situation, my babysitter showed it to me. And I was very, very young when I first saw West Side Story. She skipped through like obviously like a couple scenes that like I probably should
make of our hands one hand.
I love that part though. That's like, oh, it's so good.
It's so full of vibrato. My God,
it's beautiful. And like to this day, West Side Story is still like one of the most important things to me. Just Romeo and Juliet in general is like one of the most important stories of my life. I don't know like what it is about. I latched onto that as a child. And I think West Side Story, like, so because I'd heard about Romeo and Juliet when I was really, really little, like just like, you know, in stories, whatever. But West Side Story was like my first introduction to seeing anything about Romeo and Juliet. And so I kind of latched onto it. And then I saw the like original 1960s Zeffirelli Romeo and Juliet, which is still
the one that everyone says, oh, that guy looks like Zac Efron. Was that just around me?
I believe so.
It's from the 60s.
He kind of does.
Like full Zac Efron, like bowl cut.
Yeah, he kind of does look like, yeah.
Okay. Just making sure that like it wasn't just my school that was like.
Yeah. No, he kind of does. Yeah, now that you said it, yeah, that makes sense. And I saw the Zeffirelli version, which is like still to this day the best Romeo and Juliet ever. The 2013 one rivals it, though. I will say that I don't like Haley Steinfeld as Juliet, but everyone else in that movie, art. It's so good. But yeah, so I think that West Side Story and Grease were two major ones, and then obviously like Mamma Mia right after, and then Hairspray. Like anything I could get my hands on, because I didn't really have a lot of access to live theater. I did see Hairspray on stage on tour when I was very young, and I'm pretty sure it was with Aaron Tveit.
Yeah.
But I don't have any memory of it. I was like 6 years old. I have like zero memory of it, but pretty sure that was like the first major theatrical like experience that I had. But yeah, so I think Grease, West Side Story, Mamma Mia, Hairspray, all the like good musical movies.
I'm trying to think what like mine was, because like the first show I saw, like, but that's not the first. Like, I think I feel like Annie was a big movie for me.
Annie was one of the first. Annie was also one for me as well, because that one I saw the movie and then like I fell in love with it. And then I saw it at like the children's theater like almost every year afterwards. Like I loved Annie.
Annie was a big one for me. But also when I just remember like having such a strong attachment to Hairspray.
Yes.
In the 7th grade, Hairspray was
it was it, man.
It was, but it was, do you know what it was? I really think it was DComs. Like I think it was the Cheetah Girls, and I think it was High School Musical that like really like propelled me into
I
loving
could see that.
theater.
I got that.
Like musicals.
I think Disney was like a whole nother, because like whenever I think of like, oh, like what's a musical that like made you fall in love with musicals, I don't even think about Disney just because I'm like, those are Disney movies. But like they are like genuinely like those are really good. That's true. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So it was like really, 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 it was High School Musical that did it for me. And then like, oh my God, love
so that. Valid.
It was, but that I remember, so that High School Musical came out when I was in the 5th grade. And
I was in the 1st grade.
That makes sense. I'm 4 years older than you. And then when I was in the 6th grade, I saw the movie The Producers, and when I tell you that changed the game for me.
So good.
The Producers, like it was something like I could watch with my dad, that my dad found funny, that I really, really enjoyed, like The Producers. And a lot of people have a lot of criticism with the movie The Producers, but I
enjoy it.
The movie itself, they're like, oh, it looks too like flat. But I think that's something that adds.
I like that.
I feel like it feels like you're on a set. Like there's something that feels theatrical about it. While it does feel flat, there is something that is still inherently theatrical about it. And
well, and that's like, I feel the same way about like Singing in the Rain, because a lot of that is like very much obviously like a set, but people don't criticize that. And I'm like, it's like the same thing. Like it's like the same situation. But
but also having Nathan Lane, Matthew Broderick, Gary Beach, and Roger Bart, having those four reprise their roles, I think was phenomenal. Like, and then they brought in like Uma Thurman and Will Ferrell, which I think both of them did phenomenal.
I think I think they did well. Like I like it. I also, another one was On the Town. A lot of people don't discuss On the Town, and I feel like we should, like as a society, we should discuss On the Town more.
Well, they had a revival what 6 years ago?
Yeah, but like I remember watching the movie. I was probably 9 or 10 when I first saw the movie, and that like started like a whole nother like thing in my mind, because I think that really solidified the type of musicals that I really love, which, as we all know, is like the like in your face, this is a Broadway musical musical. And On the Town is very much like I love dancey musicals. I love like a good tap number. I love that. And so I don't know, that's just that's a comfort movie musical to me, because I watched that a lot during quarantine last year. I remember watching it and like I had this epiphany, because I have seen this movie a million times and I had never caught the line that Frank Sinatra says whenever he's like, oh, I can't remember like any of the character names. I'm like, it's escaped me. But they were like, who are you trying to find? Ava Gardner? I never caught that until literally last year. And I was like, oh my God, because Frank Sinatra and Ava Gardner
like married at one point.
I'm literally such an idiot. Like, they're one of my favorite love stories, and like I never even like realized that was said in that movie until literally last year. Like, I literally had a book. I used to have a book called Hollywood Love, and it was just like this book about like all these different like Hollywood couples, like classic Hollywood couples, like Frank Sinatra, Ava Gardner, like stuff like that. And it was my favorite book that I owned for a very long time.
But yeah, I feel like for both of us, it was movie musicals that got us into theater, which I feel like might be more common than people want to say.
Well, and I feel like a lot of people discount it, because like you posted a TikTok a few months ago where you were like, what was like the musical that got you into musical or whatever it was.
Oh yeah.
And I switched it and I was like, it was movie musicals. Like I was like, it was Grease, it was West Side Story, it was Hairspray, like stuff like that. And like a lot of people, I even had a friend who she was like, it's funny because like me and my friends, like we've realized that we're very like human beings are very elitist. Like we're just all very elitist. We just don't want to admit it, but like we are about like anything that we're like passionate about.
Yeah.
And I have always told her, like, since I met her, I'm like, you're so elitist about theater. I'm like, you don't even realize, like, I didn't have a lot of access to theater growing up. And so like my theater was movie musicals. And she started to realize, like, after I posted that TikTok, she was like, oh my God, I didn't even think about, like, genuinely that is something that like kickstarts it for a lot of people. And I'm like, yeah, like, I'm like, it literally does. Like, because there's so many people who don't have good access to live theater or pro shots or whatever.
Yeah.
And so movie musicals are like where it's at. And like, I still like am such a movie musical person, and that's why I'm so excited for this year. Like I'm just like, I'm so excited about
we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about this year later.
And like I have a friend, the same friend, she was talking about how like she loves the last 5 years, and I was like, oh my God, I love that movie, because like I had never seen it on stage. I
still haven't seen it on
listened
stage.
to the cast recording, right? Like I'd never listened to the cast recording, but it's a story that I love so much. It's music that I love so much, and like characters that are so interesting and so like exciting to like learn more about and like really dive into. And she was like, but you don't even get it. And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, she's like, but you don't get the musical. You haven't seen it like with Sherry Renee Scott and Norbert Leo Butz. You haven't heard it with Sherry Renee Scott and Norbert Leo Butz. And I'm like, okay, but my Jamie and Kathy are Jamie Jordan and Anna Kendrick. And I think that's okay. I don't care. That's my Jamie and Kathy. And I love that. Like, I'm like, however, prior to us talking about this, I was like, I have heard the Norbert Leo Butz and Sherry Renee Scott like cast recording because it's amazing. Yeah. I'm like, but there's something to be said about Jeremy Jordan's like dramatics in the last 5 years that like it hits different than Norbert's. Like I love Norbert's because his is a little bit more like muted, but Jeremy Jordan's is so like I felt like I always feel it when I listen to his. Like his is so good.
There's a lot of people who don't like that movie, and I'm like, I love it.
I love it. That's one of my go-to like comfort movies. Like me and my friends watch The Last 5 Years all the time.
Yeah, it's a good. I like that movie.
But also, I just have like the fattest crush on Anna Kendrick. It's embarrassing.
But yeah, so those are the shows that got us into the shows, the movies that got what we should change that to. What got you into theater?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and then we'll ask the first show we saw, which was the first episode of this podcast. We talked about the first show we saw. Mine was Wicked.
Mine was Hairspray, and I don't remember it, but
fair. But if you want to hear our stories, go listen to the very first episode of this podcast, where I talk about a plunder that happened when I saw Wicked for the first time.
It's one of my favorite stories ever.
One of my favorite stories to tell. Okay, and then the first show you did.
That's a really good question, because I grew up doing dance and stuff. So let me think. Let's see. I probably did a show and I don't even remember it because I was so little. Like, I don't know. Because I didn't perform as much once I got older. It was more so just dance when I got older. Like since then, like I've done auditions. I just haven't like been cast in anything because I can't sing. And they're like, you can't sing, so that means you can't dance in the background. Like, bitch. I auditioned for Grease my senior year of high school. It wasn't with the school, it was with community theater. It was like after my senior year. And I wanted it so badly. Like, I was like, I don't care what role. I just want to be in Grease. It's like my dream to be in a freaking production of Grease. And the girls that were like doing it, like directing it, was like 3 girls that I went to high school with that were directing it. They were like a year above me. So they were friends with my sister. And I like went in for the audition and they knew me going into it because I had danced with a couple of them. And so in the dance audition, they were like, oh, Jill, can you come stand up in front so everyone can watch you do it? And I still didn't get cast. Is that not the worst thing on the planet? Like, I will never not be upset over that. Like, I was so pissed.
I would too.
But that's like my most memorable audition, I think.
You don't remember the first show you did?
I don't remember the first show that I did. I did Cinderella once. I was Ella. I was very little. It was like junior. I mean, I don't remember much of it, but
for me, my school like forced us to do can you hear that airplane?
A little bit.
Okay, that's fine. So my school, we had to do like something every year. So I remember in kindergarten, I went to a private Christian school for preschool to 8th grade. And I remember the first time I was ever in front of an audience that I can remember where I was acting and playing a part. Because you know how when you do like preschool little like pageant things,
yeah,
you get up and you
sing. If we're counting that, I do remember.
No, we're not counting that.
Oh, okay. I was like, if we're counting that, I do vividly remember mine.
So in kindergarten, we did this. My teacher asked me to be a part, or I volunteered. Either way, I don't remember. That was very long time ago.
We'll say that she asked you. We'll say that she like.
We'll say that she asked me. Like, this is a very outgoing child who would soon become very not outgoing. But so we did like a Bible story in front of like the other kids, and so I think it was like the walls of Jericho tumbling down. And so I remember us like walking around like blocks, like in a circle. And I think at one point we all had to like pull a string and we made them like fall down.
Oh my God.
But I also think we had like paper trumpets, which, you know, you like just make like a cone out of like a single sheet of paper and you just go whoop, 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 whoop.
Yeah.
And so that, but then like the first like play I played a Munchkin in the Wizard of Oz in 1st grade.
So cute.
Through like that school's daycare program. And then in 2nd grade, I like cringe about this all the time. Which I was 7. I shouldn't be cringing at something that happened 19 years ago. So I auditioned for our I think it was going to end up being like a winter play. It was some play. I don't remember anything about it, except that it was like the city kids come and visit like the country. They're like grandparents in the country.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it had some religious element. I do not remember, but I did not get the character I wanted, and they cast me as a grandmother, and I cried.
No.
So I rejected that part.
Did you really?
I rejected it, and instead I just like ended up like speaking a Bible verse or something.
How unprofessional.
How like truly diva at age 7.
What a diva. I remember in the 4th grade, I think it was. We did I think it was 4th grade, because I think that was when we did our like unit in social studies on like how bills become laws and things like that. And you know the Schoolhouse Rock, I'm Just a Bill.
I'm aware of it. I don't think I've ever heard it all the way through.
Okay, so fun fact, we did that number in our like big school like play, like the 4th grade play. It was like all these like different things about the government. And so my class had like how bills become laws and things like that. So we did I'm Just a Bill from Schoolhouse Rock. And we auditioned to play like the two like kids that are talking and then like the bill. And so I auditioned for one of the kids that was like talking because they had more lines than the bill had. And so I was like, I want this so badly. And my teacher knew how badly I wanted it. No, it's 5th grade. It's 5th grade, not 4th. And she was like assigning us like our roles and everything. And it was me and my best friend Kaylin. It was like the two kids who were doing the talking. And then this kid who I will not name because he was a stalker of mine in high school. And he was playing the bill. And so I got to do like 1,000 monologues and sing in front of the entire school. And that will forever be my peak. I don't think that I will ever do anything as good as that. Because It was literally me standing at a microphone going, I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only like dancing and everything.
Oh my God.
And then the year before that, I was a ghost. We did Monster Mash and I was a ghost.
Oh, my school would never have done anything that had anything to do with ghosts.
Oh my God. I wasn't allowed to watch Scooby-Doo when I was a kid because my babysitter said it was satanic. So like, I feel that, girly.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So do you have any questions? Because I have one last question, but I feel like it should be the last question.
Oh my God, scandal. Who's the most fascinating person you've ever met?
Oh,
I love questions like this because I always feel like everyone has like a really obscure one.
Are we talking like famous people?
Sure.
Or oh, most fascinating person I've ever met. Oh, that's a tough one. Because like some people just like talk and talk and talk. I will say this. One of the best like stage door experiences I've ever had was, or that I thought was like the best way to go about a stage door experience.
Yeah.
It was Hedwig and the Angry Inch. It was Darren Criss in Los Angeles.
Oh, what a guy.
He had this rule where he was like, I'm not going to be taking individual photos with anybody, but I will have a moment with you.
Yeah.
Like,
I think is great. I really like that. I enjoy that.
He's like, I'm going to talk to you. We're going to connect, but like, no turn in photos.
Yeah.
It's like, I'd rather us have like a moment.
That's so like just like being like, oh, photo really quick. That's so impersonal. And that's so like, wow, I can post this on Instagram, but like, that's not like a moment that I can like talk about and like have for the rest of my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I went with, and so when that happened, I was with one of my friends, and it happened to be like, I ended up reconnecting with another friend who happened to be there that night. And I hadn't seen her since high school. And she was there with like one of her friends. And it was like, I definitely like was recording for them as they were having their conversation so they could like remember it later. But I think that is like the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it's nice. And it's kind of like what like, and Zachary Levi did something very similar when he does shows in Hill Stage Door. Like when I did the She Loves Me Stage Door, he was like, I'm gonna just like go and sign and like talk to people. And then then the people who don't want pictures can leave, and then I'll go back and I'll take pictures. And I thought that was also a very like
that's really
efficient way to do things.
Yeah, that's very nice. Love that.
Because he like understands a lot of them are like there for him.
Right.
So who's the most interesting person you've ever met?
Henry Winkler.
I've met Henry Winkler too. I don't remember it much though.
So I met him at a Comic-Con, Lexington Comic-Con here in Kentucky. And we always got like really awesome people. Like it was always like kind of crazy. Like the lineup that we had was
Well,
so
you're
cool.
like centrally located.
Yeah, like it's a good spot. So we always had a lot of really cool people. I never really got to do like meet and greets with people because they weren't really people that I was like, I'm gonna pay money to like go and see this person. So like the way Henry Winkler's was, you didn't have to pay to meet him, but like you did have to pay for like a photo and like autograph, whatever. And at this point I had like in my head, I had like written down what I wanted to spend my money on that day. And this was when I was really into Arrow. And so I was like, I need the Oliver Queen action figure and I need the Diggle action figure because I had to like complete my set of like Felicity, Oliver, and Diggle. And I didn't buy the Oliver Queen action figure that day because I spent that money on Henry Winkler, and which I was not expecting to do it at all, but it was just like the way he was like talking to me. I was like, I want a photo with him. I want his autograph. Like because I've loved this man since I was a child. Like Happy Days was one of my favorite shows as a kid. And like I watched it every single day. Like it was like that and Saved by the Bell were like my two favorite things on the planet. And it's funny because Mark Paul Gosselaar was actually supposed to be at Comic-Con in Lexington last year, and I almost missed him, but then it didn't even happen. So like I was like, no one got to see him. No one got to meet him. And so yeah, so I walk up and like we're waiting in line, and like he sounded
Mark
so
Paul
nice.
Gosselaar is Saved by the Bell, and James Van Der Beek.
Yes, and James Van Der Beek is Dawson's Creek.
They're the same person in my
They
head.
are not the same person, Katie. I hate that you say that because they are not the same person.
The same person in my head.
You're a psychopath. You're not the same person. Oh my god. Anyways, so Henry, like we were like waiting in line, whatever. I will forever remember this moment. Like this was like I swear to you, this is one of the best moments of my life. So we get up to the front and he just has like the most relaxing energy. And like the way he talks is just so calming and like so amazing. And like I knew that just like from watching him on TV. And so like I was like fully prepared to just like, I wasn't even anxious, I wasn't like stressed out, I wasn't nervous, anything. Like he just made it so relaxing and so easy. And so we like get up to him, the people in front of us like didn't get a photo or anything, so they were there for 5 seconds, and then like I was like thrust into this situation that I was like not fully prepared for. But he was like so sweet. He was like, oh my god, what's your name? Like he asked me, my sister, my friend, he was like, what's your name? Like what do you know me from? Like what made you want to come and like see me? Like he was so sweet about it. And then he was like, can I hug you? And I was like, yes. Like I was like crying. I was like, yes. And so I was like, I don't want to get a photo and like all this other stuff. And so I spent $40 on a photo with him, which it's still like, I'm going to show you this photo though. I'm going to find it and show it to you because it was worth it, Katie. Oh my god, it's the best photo with a celebrity I have. Like it's like the best photo ever. But I got a photo with him, and then I got an autographed picture of him in Happy Days. It's in my closet.
That's exciting.
And because like the fonts was like my childhood, like that was my jam as a kid. I loved it. And that was like $15. So I definitely spent more money than I thought I was going to on Henry Winkler. But yeah, like the best hug I've ever had in my life. And like I say that about everyone I meet, but Henry Winkler was 1000% the best hug I've ever had in my life. Aaron Tveit is a very close second, but Henry Winkler is like number one. Aaron Tveit's hugs can cure the entire world's problems. I'm convinced of that though. If you've never hugged Aaron Tveit, I highly recommend doing it because it will cure your depression for at least
not now. Who knows when that'll ever happen again?
When we can hug people again. Highly recommend asking Aaron Tveit to hug him because I'm going to say ask him because consent, but like he gives amazing hugs. Andy Carl too. Andy Carl's a really good hugger too.
All right.
Very nice. Yeah.
Noted.
I hugged him. My mom was jealous. So. My mom has such a crush on Andy Carl. It's so funny.
All right.
I'm going to find this picture.
Okay.
Let me ask the other question and then I'll
ask a question while you look for this picture.
I'm gonna say, let's see. What would you do if you had enough money to not need a job?
Oh, what would I do if I had enough money to
I feel like
not
that's a
have
good one
a
to
job?
ask, like the people we want to bring on.
Yes. Yes. Money to not need a job.
I
Ooh.
always find it interesting when like actors are asked this question because like their answers are always not what you would expect.
No, like if I had enough money to not need a job, I would buy a like an apartment
Mm-hmm.
in New
Same,
York City. I would buy an
same.
apartment. I'd buy a
What
house.
neighborhood? What neighborhood in New York City?
Ooh.
Because I
Upper
would go Upper
West.
West.
Upper West.
Oh my God, are we gonna be neighbors? We're gonna have like neighboring penthouses in the Upper
Yes.
West.
Upper West. And then I would buy a home in LA so that I could be close to my family. And then I would honestly just like spend my time reading and writing and truly everything I was doing while I was furloughed. Like
Solid.
as like upset as I was at like the state of the world. Oh, you guys both look so happy in that picture.
Isn't that the best photo on
It's
his
a really
picture?
good picture. But like everything I was doing when I was furloughed, like as upset as I was at like about everything that happened, I was truly just like living.
That was me last year. Like I was like, I may be severely depressed, but I'm vibing.
I was like sleeping until like 11 a.m. every day. I was
Right.
reading. I read so much.
I
Um,
wrote a lot last year.
yeah, I didn't write as much as I would like to, and I would like to get back into writing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's what I would do. What would you do? You had enough money to not
I
need a
would
job
buy an apartment on the Upper West, and then I would
next
buy
to
a
me.
house. Yes, and then I would buy a house. Probably I'd probably buy a Hamptons house. I'm gonna be honest with you. That's my dream. I want a Hamptons house. I also like a yacht, but that's beside the point. But um I would, because this is a dream of mine. This is something I really, really want to do. This is like once I get to a point in my career where I can do this, this is what I want to do. And I think that this would like translate well if like I had enough money where I didn't need a job. I would want to create an agency that's like acts as an alternative to joining Actors Equity. So it's like you wouldn't have to pay like legitimate dues. Like you wouldn't have to like
Would it be like a nonprofit?
yeah. So like they would rely on us for like healthcare and things like that, but like we wouldn't expect anything from them in return other than like actively still like searching for jobs and like auditioning and like things like that. So it would be like I don't like I just like have this dream of like this
Is
agency
that
that kind of acts like as an alternative.
is that not the Actors Fund and Broadway
It's
Care?
not well, no, it would be, but like we would also have managers and publicists and agents on
Mm,
hand that like would active like would be able to help without you having to like pay them like and all that stuff. Like you know
mm,
what I mean? Like it would be like kind of like an everything
mm. Okay.
agency. Yeah. So like I don't like I just have like this dream of having like this
Oh,
nonprofit thing for like people
well,
either
you
like
know I
just
love a
starting out
nonprofit.
like either like just starting out or um like not like I don't know who would qualify for it, but like you know what I mean, like it would be like a lot of it would mostly be theater actors obviously, but yeah, that's like
Well, you know I love nonprofits.
that's my dream. That's what I want it so badly. But I would do that and then I would probably I'd work with a lot of different charities. I think that's like
Yeah.
I would work with a lot of charities centered around like wildlife because elephants are like everything to me.
I would
They're
also
my
just
favorite
like become a
bird.
philanthropist.
Yeah, like I would do so much. Like I have so many things that I would want to like help.
Like the amount that I would just like give towards like the Los Angeles mission and
Yeah.
like all of like to help like low income communities. Like
I would want to work with like Mariska Hargitay and Norbert Leo Butz on like their work that they do with sexual violence and victims and survivors of sexual violence. I would want to work with them because they have amazing foundations and charities. But like just like there's so many like sexual violence and domestic assault and domestic abuse victims. I want to work with them. I would want to do like getting animals off the endangered species list. Like I have like so many different like causes that like I just really want to like do everything I can for, but like I don't have time. And then obviously like just like anything like human rights, anything, whatever I can get my hands on and like help with, that's what I would want to do.
Yeah.
That's like absolutely, that would be my number one thing. And that's not me being like pat myself on the back. Like, no, that's just genuinely what I've always wanted to like be able to do.
Yeah. All right. Did you have any other?
Okay, cancer. That's another one that I would want to.
Yeah. What other questions?
What was the last show you binge watched? That's one of the.
Ooh, what was the last show I binge watched? I was rewatching what is it called? Modern Love.
I love Modern
Rewatching that
Love
a couple
on
days.
Amazon Prime.
Yeah, a while ago. I was rewatching that.
That makes me weep every time I watch.
But also,
it's so beautiful.
also just Love Life, the show Love Life on HBO Max.
That one's good.
Anna Kendrick. That last episode is
so good.
Perfect.
So good. I didn't like that show at first, and then like the first time I watched it, I was like, I'm not into this.
Oh, I was
watching it for Anna Kendrick, and then the second time I watched it, I was like, I think it was just like the pacing was weird for me.
Yeah.
So like I couldn't get into it, but yeah, that one's really, really good too. I really like that one.
Yeah.
The last show I binge watched. I've been working on Halston, but that one's not really a binge watch. I'm just kind of watching it as I can. It's good. It's just we're gonna have a whole episode about Halston, but my main thing that I can say about it is the pacing sucks. It's honestly horrendous. But it reminds me a lot of like how Bohemian Rhapsody is, in the sense of like the way it's like structured. So like where Bohemian Rhapsody, in my opinion, I feel like Bohemian Rhapsody did what Halston is trying to do, where like Halston's like diving deep into like his sexual life and like a lot of like his personal stuff, which is great. I love learning about all that stuff, but at the same time it's like they're not doing it correctly. Like they're doing it in a really weird way that feels uncomfortable at times. Whereas like Bohemian Rhapsody, like it added to the story of like learning about his like sexual encounters and how he discovered his sexuality. Whereas like Halston was already like out and everything. He just is now just like having sex. Like it's just like him constantly having sex. And so like I don't know, like it's a weird thing. But I keep comparing the two because they feel very similar, like the way that they're structured and made. So Halston, I guess, would be what I've been watching, but I just am always watching SVU at all times. So
I mean, my comfort show was taken off Netflix, so RIP me.
Oof. All my comfort shows are still readily accessible at my fingertips because I have like every streaming platform.
I refuse to get Peacock.
All my like, that was another question I was gonna say was like, what are like your shows that you go back and rewatch? Mine are like Gossip Girl, Graceland, Brain Dead. More recently, New Girl has become a comfort show for me. SVU, and now Organized Crime. Now that like Organized Crime is a thing, I'm really, really into that. It's so good. Highly recommend if you like SVU, watch Organized Crime. Very good.
Yeah.
But there's something about Mariska Hargitay. She just relaxes me. I love her so much. Like she keeps me calm. But this last episode, if y'all know what I'm talking about, any SVU fans, if y'all watched this last episode, y'all know I had 3 panic attacks and I wept throughout the whole thing because I was so stressed out.
My God.
They brought back this. So there was this episode from like season 15, I think, called like Born Psychopath. Highly recommend watching. It's a very good episode. It's just alarmingly terrifying. About this like 10-year-old kid who's like so far off the psychopathy scale or psychopathy Anyways, he's so far off the scale that like all the psychiatrists in the episode were like, lock this kid up. He is dangerous. He's 10 years old. And they were like, he's dangerous. And so like this new episode is like about him, and like they let him out of the mental institution because he tricked them into like thinking that he was sane. And it's like he went on like a murdering spree. It was the most terrifying episode I've ever seen. Like I was so stressed out the entire time.
Oh my God.
But highly recommend watching SVU. Just don't watch those episodes if you get stressed out really easily.
My gosh.
They're terrifying.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then one last question that I have that I think is something very interesting that
I'm like nervous about this question.
Don't be nervous about the question. It's just, what is your favorite non-theater interest?
Fashion.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I've always loved fashion. And like anything design. So like interior design, fashion design. I just like, I've always been obsessed with designers. And like I don't know when it all started, but like I have a weird fascination with like Anna Wintour and all the things that like she's done, because like Vogue is just like one of the most incredible things ever. Like I think that Vogue is like one of the greatest. Like I literally have a stack of like Vogues over there because I have a subscription. And like I think it all started with Gossip Girl when I was like 8 or 9 years old. I was just like so fascinated with the fashion aspect of it. Which is why I'm so excited for like the new one, because like, are you kidding me? Like all these amazing designers now that are going to be incorporated. Like I'm so excited about it. But I think fashion is like my main thing. That and I don't know, so much of my life revolves around theater. Like so much of my interests and stuff revolve around, I mean, like even fashion, like that is inherently theatrical. That's like, it all relates. Does Olivia Rodrigo count as like a
I mean, sure.
I'm obsessed with her. Yeah, I think fashion is probably my main.
Mine is baseball.
Baseball's like my like third or fourth. Like valid.
I just this past year,
Katie Snapchats me every day and narrates the Dodgers games for me.
I love those boys so much.
I'll be like I remember I would be in class or something this past semester, and I would just like have like a million Snapchats from Katie waiting.
If you were Jill in April of 2021, you saw me get so angry at the Dodgers.
So angry.
They were doing so terribly.
Every single day was a new Snapchat of Katie just going, I just don't understand. Meanwhile, I was out here like the Yankees and the Dodgers have switched because the Yankees are killing it this season.
I mean, knock on wood, right now the Dodgers are doing pretty dang good. They just beat the Giants 2 nights in a row. They swept the Diamondbacks. Do they sweep?
Every time I think of the Diamondbacks, I think of undrafted.
You know what's so funny? There was a player on the Diamondbacks who was on the Astros in 2017. It was like part of the.
Oh, you told me about that.
And when they came up to bat, the organ player started playing I Saw the Sign. When it opened up my eyes, I saw the sign. And like,
oh my God.
And like Joe Davis and Oral Hershiser, who do the commentary, they were like,
that's
the organ
so
player.
Funny.
Oh my God. He was getting booed, and like there was a whole section yelling, "You're a cheater!" Bom, 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 bom. You're a cheater. Like it was.
Speaking of baseball, I started a new job, and this is going up on Friday, or on Monday. So on Friday, I was doing like online training stuff. Or I started online training stuff, and I was just like sitting in the back cubicle in the offices of this hotel. And I had like one earbud in because people kept like coming in to talk to me. So like I had one earbud in doing the training. And so like this is my impression of the women in the office when this one guy came in to like talk to them and just like chat or whatever. So this is dead ass what I heard in one ear while I was doing training in the other. I love sports. I don't know what it is. I just and like they wouldn't even like, and she was like, and since I moved around so much as a kid, I don't really have like a team. I just like am really into like sports. And I was like, what?
Do you have a sport?
Right, like what sport do you like the most? And then they started talking about the Red Sox, and so I interjected and I was like, go Yankees. Like, I'm like the worst person. And one of the guys that like I know there, he walked in when I said that and he started laughing so hard because everyone else in the office was like, Boston is where it's at for sports. And I was like, y'all are fucking stupid. I was like, go Yankees.
I love Boston. I could see myself one day living in Boston.
I love Boston. I adore
However,
Boston. I hate their sports teams.
I have like a weird like soft spot for the Red Sox just because I love the movie Fever Pitch so much. Just a soft spot for them. And then the Brewers, and the only reason the Brewers is because I love their logo.
Having me as a friend, you fully just said I have a soft spot for the Red Sox. What?
I do. I love
Fever Pitch. I am a Yankee. You can't say that to me. I'm a Yankees fan. You cannot. I hate you. This is the end of our friendship.
Okay. R.I.P. Katie Jill, 20.
That's like the second time that I've said that in the last month.
R.I.P. Katie Jill.
What was the other reason I said that like a couple weeks ago?
I don't know.
We were texting and I was like, okay, bye. This is the end.
I don't know.
I'm gonna go through a text and find it.
Okay, you go through the text. But yeah, okay, those are the questions we're gonna ask our guests in the future.
Yeah.
But let's talk about what's happened in the last 2 weeks. My God, so much happened.
There's so many things. I'm not as nervous as I was in the other episode where we were talking about things. So like that's good.
Every single show announced their return date, pretty much. We're still waiting on
Hadestown
and Book of Mormon and every other Rudin show that was
Book of Mormon. I said this months ago, and then like 2 weeks later they announced that they were doing this, but I said like Book of Mormon is gonna have to do something to reevaluate a lot of stuff in their show.
Mm-hmm.
And then like 2 weeks later they were like they are having a meeting to discuss things, so I feel like they won't open until like early next year at least.
And then To Kill a Mockingbird also hasn't announced.
Because for obvious reasons.
Well, they're both Rudin shows.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that needs to be done there. But let me find a comprehensive list of the shows. I'll just go to, I think, Broadway World or Broadway.com, or one of them was posting they were posting a pretty good
you sent me one on Instagram.
I did, but I don't know if I believe that one so much.
Oh, okay.
Because they had dates wrong, and also Diana has upped theirs.
Which I'm glad they did. I think that's a really good idea. I think that's great. I'm excited for them. I want to see Diana really, really bad. But I have to wait until my mom feels comfortable enough to go.
I've made changes. Okay, so.
But my mom and I will be watching it when it hits Netflix. I'm very excited.
For sure. Me too. I want to see if they've made changes. So, okay. Moulin Rouge, September 24th.
I have my tickets for September 29th.
Exciting.
I would be going September 24th, but my sister's wedding is September 25th.
Dear Evan Hansen, December 11th. Flying Over Sunset, previews begin November 4th, opening date of December 6th. Hamilton, September 14th. But I am seeing Hamilton on its first performance back in Los Angeles on August 17th. So nearly a full month. Take 3 days before it reopens on Broadway. I will be seeing it in Los Angeles, California. I bought my ticket yesterday. I'm so excited.
Yes. My leg is asleep. One moment. Okay.
Lion King, September 14th. Wicked, September 14th. Chicago, September 14th.
And the Wicked's reopening date sold out in like 2 hours.
I want to say it sold out in like minutes.
Like it took like no time at all. It was crazy. Because I remember looking like 10 minutes after and I couldn't find like hardly any tickets.
Yeah. And I so desperately want to go. And I was looking at tickets on StubHub and I'm like, I could drain my bank account, but I also have no idea what my life looks like in September. So things are difficult.
Yeah.
6 previews resume September 17th, opening date of October 3rd.
Which I really want to see. I'm super excited.
I do too. Come From Away, September 21st. Aladdin, September 28th. Tina, October 8th. Caroline or Change, they start previews October 8th with an opening date of October 27th.
Very excited for that as well.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Ain't Too Proud, they return on October 16th.
I'm excited for that one.
Jagged Little Pill, October 21st. Doubtfire, previews October 21st, opening date of December 5th. The Phantom of the Opera, October 22nd, they resume. Trouble in Mind, previews begin October 29th, opening date of November 18th. Diana has switched, so they are now November 1st.
I think so.
And I'm not sure what their opening date is as of right now. We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
MJ previews December 6th, opening February 1st. Company.
I'm like weirdly anxious about that.
That one's going to be a weird one because there's a lot of drama around Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Company previews resume December 20th, opening
and
date.
Katie and I will be there in January.
We have nothing officially planned, but we're like, we'll go in January.
We're planning, we're like MLK weekend. We're going to be there.
Yeah.
We're going to go. We haven't booked a single bit of it, but we're like, we're going to be there, guys.
We'll be there. The Music Man previews resume December 20th and an opening date of February 10th. So let me go back and find Diana because Diana
they just announced it like a few days ago.
Yeah. So let me find it. But yeah, so we have all of these dates and it's very, very exciting. So they are November 2nd with an opening night of November 17th. That is such a quick preview period.
It is, yeah. But I feel like it's because
they were already in previews.
And they already filmed it. So like it kind of has to be frozen.
Yeah, the show's frozen.
So
yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So all very, very, very exciting things.
I wish that someone had recorded me buying my Moulin Rouge tickets because
you recorded it yourself.
I didn't think about it. I was shaking. I was having a moment. I was at like my grandparents' house and I had like my aunt was in, like we were all in the kitchen. So it was like my aunt, my grandma, my mom, my dad, and me. And I had my mom's credit card sitting next to me. I was booking it real quick because my mom isn't just like paying for my tickets. I'm like paying her back. But even if she was, I don't care. That's just, who cares? But I feel like I have to preface that. But we were all just like sitting there and then I hit book and then I got the email and I literally started weeping. Like I was just in tears. I was a puddle. I immediately called my friend and I was like, we got tickets, girly. And it was a very, very good moment after a very, very long like I'm about to cry thinking about it. Like it was the first moment that I have felt genuine like happiness in a long time. So I'm very, very excited about it. I'm excited and I messaged Amber and I said, bitch, I'm gonna be there for a show back.
Oh my gosh. It's so exciting.
It's just like the best feeling on the planet right now. Like
it is.
I don't even know how else to describe it. Like it's just the best thing on the planet.
Yeah. And again, there's still so much work that needs to be done.
Yes. And I posted something on my Instagram. I was like, there are two things that can be true. And it's like a repost of something, and it was like, two things can be absolutely true right now. One, you can be booking Broadway tickets and be excited about it. And two, you can still acknowledge that there is a lot of shit that needs to happen and still actively be working to make sure that that shit happens. And I'm like, I agree with that. And so, because I'm doing as much as I can, and I'm, you know, working and listening and researching and learning as much as I can, while also being very, very excited to see like my fave shows again. So
Yeah.
and to see new shows, because Katie and I keep talking about Flying Over Sunset. Like, we're losing our minds over it.
When we go in January, it's going to be Flying Over
we
Sunset,
have to go.
Company, probably Moulin Rouge.
Probably Moulin Rouge, most likely, because I will be seeing it every chance I get.
But yeah, or Six.
And Six. Not
Yeah.
or. And Six. Thank you very much.
But we still haven't heard about Girl from the North Country. We still haven't heard about West Side Story.
I don't care about
Hadestown. Hadestown really said, wait for me.
Patrick Page posted the other day that like their news is coming soon. So I don't know what soon means, but you know. Yeah. And I mean, and here's the other thing about Moulin Rouge is like they released a new promo video, but they still haven't announced a new Satine or like who Satine's going to be played by. And I found it weird that they didn't wait to release a new promo video with a new Satine. Like I would have liked to have seen that. But
I saw something in some like Facebook comment that like Jessie J is being considered. I don't know if you.
I don't think that's true. I think that's a rumor. I saw that on Facebook too. I don't think that that's true.
Yeah.
It would be interesting.
It would
but
be.
I don't think that that's true.
Yeah. I'm like, she's got the vocal power to do it.
I do love Jessie J. Like, that is no hate towards her. I love her. I adore her. I think she's one of the most talented women ever. I don't think that that's entirely. I think that they couldn't. I feel like they should end up star casting her at some point, but not right now. I feel like that would be weird.
Yeah. Not before.
I still stand by. I still think they should bring it. I think they should just have Ashley be Satine, but that's just me.
I also like now we're waiting for an announcement of when the Tonys are going to happen.
Just stop reminding me of that. Because I constantly am just like having anxiety about the fucking Tonys. And like, I know you always make fun of me because you're like, Jill.
It literally does not affect you in any way.
It doesn't affect me, but at the same time, it inherently affects me 1000%.
Thank God. Ugh.
I'm just like, I'm such like a sentimental, like, I don't even know the word for it. There is a word and it's escaped me. Empathic person. I'm a very empathic person. So like, if I care about someone or I care for someone, I feel everything for them on their behalf. And so I'm like constantly just like stressed for all of these people that I love so dearly. And like, it's bad. It's very, very bad.
Yeah.
Like when my friends go through breakups, I'm going through breakups. I always say that to them. And they're like, Jill, this isn't about you. I'm like, but it is about me. I feel badly. Like I'm such an asshole.
And then the biggest thing to happen in the past week was the Dear Evan Hansen trailer dropped, and that really rocked.
And I want to say something about this really quickly before we dive into it. I am wholeheartedly excited about this movie. I am so excited for it. That being said,
I'm so happy that Dear Evan Hansen fans are getting a movie.
I'm very excited because, and as someone who's not a big Dear Evan Hansen fan, I'm excited to like see what they've done with it. Like I'm excited to see, you know, changes that they made, whatever. But I am gonna wait until I see the movie to have like a full opinion on it, because like you can't really base your whole thoughts about it just based on the trailer. But I was very uncomfortable. I had to like stop for a minute and like come back to the trailer later because I got very uncomfy. But seeing Danny Pino's face, it hits different. Mm-hmm. I'm excited though. I am excited that they brought in Danny Pino to be Connor's stepfather. I love that change. I love that idea because I feel like, you know, like changing it from dad to stepdad, that's such a different dynamic. It's such like a different, I love that though. Like, I think that that's going to be really good. I'm very, very excited about that.
Yeah.
That was like my first thought whenever they announced it. I was like, that's amazing. I was like, that's the perfect change to be made.
Yeah. I thought, okay, so the internet started freaking out because they were like,
The internet had a moment.
the internet is still having a moment. So there was like, it all centered around Ben Platt. Should Ben Platt be Evan Hansen?
Katie and I were sending each other memes all day.
The thing is, I don't care if Ben Platt is playing Evan Hansen.
No, I don't care.
I care about whatever hair and makeup did to him.
They did him so dirty.
They did him so dirty. I don't care that he's 27 playing a 17-year-old.
I do not care. Man, and I love him. I love looking at his face dearly. But
I think he is incredibly talented. Yes. I'm just upset with whoever is on hair and makeup and made him look like Ben Platt ex Pillsbury Doughboy.
I posted my first reaction, because like I posted on my close friend's Instagram story because I felt bad posting on my main story. I wasn't making fun of him. I wasn't like, I wasn't saying anything bad. It was just like a joke I made. But I said like the worst hairstyling I've seen in my life. Like, and I have very controversial opinions about wigs. I think wigs are the most amazing thing on the planet. I don't know if he was wearing a wig. I can't really tell, because
some people are saying it is, some people are saying it's not.
Because he did grow out his hair, so part of me is like, that's not a wig, but then a huger part of me is like, that's a wig. I want to send it to like my stage makeup professor and be like, is this a wig?
About this.
But I have very controversial opinions when it comes to wigs, because like I love Aaron Tveit's wig in Les Mis. I love
that's a great wig.
Right? No one else likes it. I feel like I'm so alone in that thought. But thank you for validating me, because I love that wig more than anything.
Give him a little blonde moment.
Yeah, I love it. And also it just looked great. Like I wish his hair actually looked like that. But there was something about this one. It made me want to punch a wall. And that's nothing against Ben Platt. I have to keep saying that. This is nothing against Ben. I love him dearly. I listen to his music all the time. I am a diehard Pitch Perfect fan. I would never say anything ill towards this man.
People were getting so upset the fact that he was
getting mean. People were getting very mean.
The thing, okay, so one criticism I kept seeing, and I understand
about like, Mark.
Yeah, they're like, it's nepotism. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, it is, but it doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Well, and I always point this out. Like, my friends always think it's so funny, because like I am such a Ben Platt fan. Like I do really love him. But they always think it's funny. I'm like, must be nice to, have a dad who's a producer. I always make that joke, but I don't actually like mean it. Like I know that he's talented in his own rights, and like, like he's able to get these roles on his own as well. But I do, like, part of me agrees with people who are getting mad about it, because I do think it's kind of weird that his dad is a producer on this movie.
We also don't know at which point he became a producer.
Right, exactly. And so that's like the one thing that I keep going back to is I'm like, but like, who's to say he wasn't cast before?
I was watching him on James Corden. I was watching his interview with James Corden, and he was talking about how, he and his dad, this is their first project they've ever done together. And how they've both been very conscious about the fact that, like, what will people think of when they work together? And he was saying, this is a project I would have wanted to do regardless, and my father feels the same way. This is a project that we both would have wanted to be a part of. So we are.
Yeah. Right.
And
I mean, and that role means a lot to him. That role is like a big thing.
It was like written around him. It was written around him. It was written about his voice.
Right. That's something, and you can't fault him for wanting to come back to it. You can't get mad at him for wanting to come back to it, because that's important to him. That's something that means a lot to him. It's the same thing. If like, I don't know.
People I wasn't like consciously aware of the Broadway community in 2005, but were people mad that like the cast of Rent was reprising their roles?
Right, like I'm like, you can't have it, but and like everyone's like, oh, I want Adina and Kristen to come back for the Wicked.
They are too old for those roles.
Right, and I was like, but you can't have it both ways. You can't have Adina and Kristen reprising their roles in Wicked and then also get mad that Ben Platt is reprising his role in Dear Evan Hansen. Like, I don't like the whole, all the
If Adina and
comments.
Kristen are part of the movie, I want like Kristen to be Madame Morrible and Adina to be like her Elphaba's mom.
Oh, I was thinking Adina would be Madame Morrible.
Then who would Kristen be?
Kristen would be vibing.
She should be vibing.
She's just like one of the Aussians. Like she's just like
They would give her a role as like the wizard's helper or something.
Yeah, like they're like, we need a soprano here, and she's like, oh, for what? And they're like, we just need a soprano here. And we've decided that it's you.
But yeah, I don't know. People
She would be thrilled to do anything in the Wicked movie. Come on, she loves it. She would be thrilled to do anything.
But yeah, I have no problem that his father is the producer. I have no problem that he's too old. I'm just upset with whoever styled that movie.
I think that, and well, that's the thing, is like a lot of people are saying, and I do agree with this, that like, you know, being in your 20s and playing a 17-year-old on stage is vastly different from doing it in like a movie. I do agree with that. I think that there is a huge difference because there is more of a suspension of belief when it's on stage because you are further away.
Mm-hmm.
And I did have an issue with the amount of close-ups in the trailer alone.
But that worked. I feel like that worked because you're supposed to feel this like anxiety that is so deeply a part of the story. Like those close-ups made me uncomfortable, and it made it replicated like the anxiety that like I would.
But did they make you uncomfortable with the subject matter or uncomfortable with the looks?
Like you said, two things can be true.
Because, and like, I stand by this. I think that, and again, this is like no hate towards anything to do with Dear Evan Hansen. I think that it translates to a lot of people's lives, and I think it is an important story for a lot of people. And I think that that's, you know, crucial for teenagers.
It was an important show to a lot of people. It is an important show to a lot of people.
Yeah, and it will be forever. Like, I mean, yeah, I can't deny that. And so, but it's not
for me.
Right. I said this to my friend the other day, and I was like, I feel like had this movie and musical been a thing, well, it was a thing, but like had the movie come out like right when the musical had, I feel like it would have had a lot more traction almost.
Mm-hmm.
Because like 5 years ago was such like a good time for movies and stuff like that with like that type of feel to them. But I don't know, like now it's almost like we've like moved forward from a point where like we need all these like YA anxiety movies.
The thing is, I definitely think that if this movie came out when I was like a freshman in high school, it would have been my favorite show.
Yeah.
But it didn't. It came out when I was a junior in college.
I mean, like I was graduating high school when this musical was a thing.
Senior in college.
Like,
27. When did I graduate?
I graduated high school 2017.
Okay, then I graduated college 27. I truly don't know time. I was like, Into the Woods came out 5 years ago. It's been 7. It was 2014. I don't know time anymore.
I don't know. I'm someone, Dear Evan Hansen didn't really apply to me. It didn't really represent me and like what I went through and like what I was going through. I think it's so niche in the way that it's represented, which is like fine, you know, like people do relate to it, and I think that that's, you know, something to be said for it. But like I tell my friends all the time, I'm like, when I want a musical that I feel represents me with my like mental health, I always turn to Next to Normal and Bandstand more than anything. Because I feel
like not that those shows don't have their flaws either. Like,
right, no, they absolutely do. Because I'm not someone
who kind of like villainizes electroshock therapy.
Oh, it absolutely does.
Which like it works.
Villainizes a lot of things. Like it is pretty messy sometimes, but it's one of those things where like with Dear Evan Hansen, it's so centered around generalized anxiety and depression. Whereas you have with Next to Normal and Bandstand, it's more widespread mental health diagnoses. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like you can see more of yourself in different ways and in different characters. Because like with Bandstand, as someone who has like PTSD and paranoia and like all that stuff, I feel like I see a lot of myself in Bandstand. Not in like, you know, like I'm not a war vet. Like I don't have PTSD in that sense, but it's like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that Bandstand does a really great job of like providing a storyline about PTSD that isn't centered around like, oh my God, I hear a loud noise and now I'm having an anxiety attack. Whereas like it's more so you then can end up with like OCD, and then you can get all these other like things. You know what I mean? Like PTSD has branches and like everything branches off of it. And a lot of people don't realize that. And so I think Bandstand does a really good job of that. And then you have Next to Normal, which has so many things. Like every character has something.
And I think what's good about Next to Normal is they never officially like diagnose Diana. They show how mental health is a journey and not everything.
And like she has diagnoses, but they're never like solidified, this is what it is.
Yeah.
And I love that because like I was misdiagnosed like 3 times. Like I never got a proper diagnosis until about 1.5 2 years ago. And so I don't like, it's just, I don't know. I think stuff like that's really important, and people tend to discount it because they are older, especially Next to Normal. But I'm like, but if Next to Normal was rewritten for today, people would latch onto it just as much as they did when it came out.
Did I send you a TikTok I saw? I can't remember what it was, but somebody was comparing Next to Normal and Dear Evan Hansen, like even musically, and how Requiem, or is it Requiem? Or it's like, oh no, it's the song, whatever the mom sings, Good For You, I think, where it's like,
you sent me a thing about Good For You, and then the Smash Good For You, and then the like.
No, this was Good For You, where it was like dun 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 dun, and then it went into can you tell me what it is you're afraid of, and how that is essentially just exactly like Good For You from Dear Evan Hansen.
Interesting.
So
love that.
Yeah.
Aren't they both Michael Greif musicals?
Yes. Maybe, yeah. I think so. Dear Evan Hansen is.
I remember that event thing that this is such like, I don't know if anyone remembers this. This is like 2017 or 2016. They did like this event. I vividly remember this moment because when it was live streaming, I was at my school's production of, I believe, Little Mermaid, was what we did that year. But during intermission, I would like go onto the live stream and watch it. It was like Aaron Tveit, Adam Chandler Barat.
I always say Barat.
I always say Barat, but I feel like that's wrong. Anyways, I think Rachel Bay Jones.
Rachel Bay Jones.
I think she was there.
Why would Rachel Bay Jones have been in it?
It wasn't just Next Normal. It was like Michael Greif musical. It was like a Michael Greif event.
I was gonna say Rachel Bay Jones wasn't in Next Normal until like 2019.
Yeah, no, I think that she was there as I could be wrong though. It may not have been her, but I think it was. And then maybe Jen Damian. I can't remember who all was there. It was only like 4 or 5 people. I can't remember who it was, but they were like singing, like Adam Chandler Barat and Aaron Tveit sang one of the songs from Ryan. No, it's escaping. It's so late. I don't even remember.
Yeah. Anyway.
But anyway, it was a really good event. Highly recommend going and watching it. Like just search like Aaron Tveit, Adam Chandler Barat, and I'm sure it would come up. It's a really good.
Oh, Rachel B. Jones. She's in Dear Evan Hansen. I was like, yes. Why would she be there? I thought it was only Next Normal. It was
like Next Normal, Dear Evan Hansen, Rant, like all these Michael Greif things. It was really cool.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot's happened, and I'm sure a lot will happen next week too. But
anything else that I was going to bring up that happened? Oh, I was going to talk about the Schmigadoon clip, but like
we can talk about that later.
I'm like the only person that cares about Schmigadoon. I'm just so excited. I just love Keegan-Michael Key. His SNL was so good. I watched it. It was very good.
Yeah.
He was very cute. I love him.
All right. So let's wrap this up then.
Is that really all there was this week?
I
We were talking about how much stuff happened, and like apparently nothing.
Well, there were days there where shows. There was not this past week, but the week before. Like it was like every day another show was announcing its return, and so it felt like a lot was happening.
Oh, we didn't even talk about this. Will take like 5 seconds, but Little Shop announced its return is with Jeremy Jordan.
Yes, it did.
Which
he was supposed to join the cast
right at the shutdown.
Yeah, right at the shutdown.
So, fun fact,
like literally like the next week, right?
Yeah. So fun fact, my friend and I that I'm seeing Moulin Rouge with, we were talking about like what other shows we were going to see. And so I was like, oh, we need to get like tickets to Wicked. And I was like, but like, what else can we see? Because we're going to be there Monday through Friday. So I was like, we could see like 3 shows. And so potentially 4, because we may see like a matinee and then like an evening show. So we were thinking about going to see Little Shop, the matinee, the same day we're seeing Moulin Rouge.
Ooh.
And we found out, I don't want to like give this away now. Oh, but like we found out we could get like front row seats for $100 for Little Shop.
So exciting.
So we might do it. We're actually like genuinely debating doing it because it's so cheap. Because like tickets are cheap right now. Like y'all, seriously, this is like the time to go. Because my Moulin Rouge tickets, $150 for like row G orchestra.
I don't remember how much tickets were.
I spent like $300 for row Q orchestra the last time I went.
Oh my God.
Because with Ticketmaster fees and everything, obviously it was like $250, but it skyrocketed with fees. So
that's wild.
Yeah. But like seriously, now's the time because they're like tickets are cheap.
My gosh. All right. Well, as we wrap up,
1 a.m.
I know it's like 10 o'clock for me, and I'm like, I'm about to like pass out.
It's 1 a.m. I just did like an 8-hour shift at work. I'm exhausted. My body hurts.
But please leave us a 5-star review in the app. If you do that in the, what are the words I'm trying to say? If you leave us a 5-star review on the App Store, not App Store, the podcast,
any review, we can take constructive criticism.
On Apple.
I mean, be nice in your review, but like we can take constructive criticism. Don't give us anything lower than 4 stars though.
Okay. If you can, please leave us a 5-star review in the Apple Podcast app store. I don't know what it's called, on Apple Podcasts. And we'll read your review on the podcast. Super fun, super exciting. Jill, where can people find us on the socials?
Also, if you just like tag us in an Instagram story or DM us or something, we'll do it there too.
Yeah, we're everywhere except Twitter. Don't do Twitter.
Yeah, no, thank you. On Instagram and TikTok. I say no thank you to Twitter. I literally am actively looking for social media jobs. I'm not against Twitter. It's just personally, I won't use it. On Instagram and TikTok, we are at Thoughts Shared Podcast. And I am at It's Jill Hayes on all social media platforms.
And if you'd like to follow me, hi, I'm Katie. You can follow me on Instagram at Complete Katie and on TikTok at Katiefornia. That's California, but instead of the
Katie.
Cali, it's Katie.
My leg is sticky. I put so much like bug bite spray on it.
Oh.
And I just touched it and my hand is sticky now.
Gross. All right.
Yeah.
End of
on
pod.
that note.
Until next time. Goodbye.